LeBron for the lead. Not there. Spurs win it.
Frustrating not to get the win, but I've showered and I'm good now.
0-3, I don't think most people saw this start.
I know what I got myself into. It's a process.
Not just an upset of an undefeated number 2 ranked team, a rout.
Ohio State has much bigger issues.
They got a lot of things to figure out in the weeks to come.
They're sick of the pro-Alabama bias. They cheat so much, they don't even try to hide it anymore.
I never dreamed it was going to be the SEC in cahoots with Alabama.
It's evidence of collusion.
What you see may change your perception of any sporting event. Get this, shoot this.
Welcome to Outside the Lines. I'm Kate Fagan, sitting in for Bob Lee. Panic at the Forum. That's today's big story from Studio Z. Despite the drama oozing from every corner of the Staples Center, punches thrown, overtime games lost, the Lakers are winless through the season's first week. Of course, sample size is low, and the process has only just begun, but LeBron James' first week in Los Angeles has created, if not victories, plenty of curiosity and questions. We are now joined by Rob Perez, senior NBA producer for the Action Network and also known as Worldwide Wob in the Twitter sphere. Rob, what's your biggest takeaway from week one of these new Lakers?
Biggest takeaway for me, Kate, is it's the Lakers we expected, right? This is a team assembled with a bunch of expiring contracts and a lot of young talent. I think the plan here has always been to set themselves up for the summer of 2019 when LeBron James can pair himself up with another budding superstar. But I don't think anyone saw 0-3 coming. And, before the season, Kobe and LeBron fans kind of had to move in together. And it took all of 3 games before we have some Game of Thrones-esque wedding breakup in the relationship. So is it panic time? Absolutely not, because LeBron has been down this path before. But 0-3 is not pretty. And with that schedule they have coming up, it's going to be real tough for them to get a win.
Yeah, and 0-3, given the spotlight that is on these Lakers, is pretty much the worst thing they could have imagined at this point. But What have you actually learned about these Lakers in 3 games? Is there anything that you can say right now that you've learned?
Well, I've learned that they're giving up 132 points a game. 132. I understand last night's game went to overtime and it pushed the score into the 140s. But this team just cannot play defense, and it doesn't fall onto a single player. Defense is a team aspect. But we have to ask ourselves, who is the second best player on this team? Is it Josh Hart? Is JaVale McGee the second most important player on this team? He has the highest efficiency rating on the entire roster. We're talking about JaVale McGee here, someone that I thought we would never say that in 2018, let alone in my entire lifetime.
Are you closely followed, at least the way it looked on social media, you closely followed the fight during the Rockets-Lakers game this week. And you've got the suspensions coming down with Ingram getting 4 games, Chris Paul getting 2, Rondo getting 3. What was your reaction, and how do you think that Twitter has affected the fallout from on-court NBA events?
Well, I think they ended up giving a suspension to Rondo and Chris Paul based on how many punches they landed, right? Rondo hit him with that 2-piece right there to begin with. Chris Paul returned an uppercut. So maybe the league's policy moving forward is 1 game per punch, which is not what we've seen in the past when a similar brawl broke out at Madison Square Garden involving Carmelo Anthony, and he got double digits. Now, in regards to Brandon Ingram, him only getting those 4 games was a curious decision because escalation is what is stressed here. If you come in and escalate the matter, you'd figure that Brandon Ingram was the one non-controversial part about this entire fight. Him only getting 1 more game than Rajon Rondo, I don't blame people for asking if that was a little too light.
And how do you think Twitter has affected how we even view moments like this? Do you think it's changed it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we certainly shine a spotlight on it a lot more than we did in the past because we have the ability to get this video up and put it on the internet and make sure the whole world sees it within 30 seconds of it happening. So what happens then is people want to comment on it. They want to investigate. They want to see if Rajon Rondo's spit was intentional or not. It makes us want to become these internet sleuths, which I admittedly am. And when we have access to phantom cam, super HD footage, which can zoom all all the way in on Rondo's mouth, and we're talking about whether you can spit with an actual mouthpiece in. Like, that's where we're at in 2018. Of course, social media has something to do with it.
All right, we got about 20, 30 seconds left for this, but I do want to know your reaction to seeing Kawhi Leonard on the court again.
Finally, the Raptors have an ace up their sleeve. In the past, they've had two jacks trying to take down a king. And with Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry becomes the secondary option. He doesn't have to go toe-to-toe with LeBron James in the playoffs anymore. Kyle Lowry's efficiency rating is 7 points higher than it's been at any point in his entire career. And this team is just stacked with an army of swingmen. And I know we've heard it before, Toronto, but this is the team. You've never had the best player in the Eastern Conference. You do now.
All right, thanks, Rob. Appreciate your time today. After a chaotic, unsavory offseason in Columbus, the Ohio State football team and head coach Urban Meyer find themselves still swirling in crisis as reports from the college football world allege friction between Meyer and athletic director Gene Smith. Now, a quick recap for anyone who missed Ohio State's offseason. Meyer was suspended 3 games by the school for how he handled domestic violence allegations against his longtime assistant, Zach Smith. Kirk Herbstreit of College Game Day, who was also a former Ohio State quarterback, said the Buckeyes have, quote, big problems with Meyer on the sideline. And the concern goes beyond the team's on-field performance, which on Saturday resulted in a 29-point loss to unranked Purdue. We're now joined by Paul Finebaum, host of the Paul Finebaum Show. Paul, what's the latest you're hearing out of Columbus?
Kate, I'm hearing a lot of whispers that this will be Urban Meyer's final season in Columbus. And you go back to August with the controversy over Zach Smith. You talked about Gene Smith, the tension between them. You saw it at that press conference. You also know by now, as everyone, that a member of the Board of Trustees wanted more severe punishment and ended up resigning. That was before the season started, and of course Urban missed the first couple of games. And since he's been back, Ohio State had won until Saturday night, coming from behind to beat Penn State, but they have not looked good. Urban Meyer's demeanor on the sidelines has been curious. He has complained several times of headaches. And having covered Urban Meyer at the University of Florida, Kate, this looks like a rerun. It looks like deja vu. Urban Meyer walked away down there when the pressure got too much, and I believe he'll do the same thing at the end of the season here.
How much of where Ohio State is at right now is a result of the Zach Smith scandal that we talked about and the 3-game suspension for Urban Meyer versus whatever problems already existed between Urban Meyer and Ohio State?
I think you have to point to that. There was such a disconnect on that campus, and I know and you know very well that fans stood up blindly loyal to Urban Meyer, and so did the football players. But even if you're a young person on that team, you had to be disgusted by what you read, by what you heard, the fact that Urban Meyer covered up for someone like Zach Smith. And I think there was a trickle down, and it's interesting that the team seemed to be reacting better when Urban Meyer was not part of the team as opposed to when he came back. And he just looks lost to me on the sideline. He looks disconnected, disjointed. And we're talking about one of the best coaches in modern college football history. And it's sad to watch, but in many ways, he probably should have been let go at the time. Why Ohio State sold its soul to let him come back, I'm not sure. Well, yes, I am sure, because it's all about winning. It was all about trying to get a national championship that I don't think they're going to get right now.
Do you think that disconnection comes from Urban Meyer believing that he shouldn't have even gotten the 3-game suspension and being frustrated by that?
Absolutely, Kate. That was so easy to read on his face that day. And listen, he's tried to clean it up several times with statements that he ended up deleting and apologizing for again. And ultimately, a month ago, the sit-down with Tom Rinaldi revealed Urban Meyer's character, that he can't deal with the reality of someone telling him what to do. In that interview, he still couldn't deal with Courtney Smith. He did not want to acknowledge that he had been wrong and she had been abused. He didn't know how to say, I'm sorry. He's got some problems. And I think that's manifesting itself now on the football field. And, yeah, look, I don't want to be a pop psychiatrist here, but it does seem like he is in a bubble and he is disconnected from not only his coaching staff, but from his team. And the results have been pretty bad. And I say pretty bad. They've lost 1 game. but this is now the fourth time in recent years that Urban Meyer has been blown out. Great coaches don't get blown out by 29 or 31 points like he did last year against Iowa.
All right, Paul Finebaum, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, a special sneak peek from the film Basketball, a Love Story. Here's more stuff that matters. There'll be history tonight in Boston in Game 1 of the World Series. Managers Alex Cora and Dave Roberts, who each played for both of these teams, will become the first managers of color to square off in the Fall Classic. They'll also become the first managers born outside the 50 states to face each other for a title. Cora was born in Puerto Rico, and Roberts, a military brat, was born in Okinawa, Japan. About 2 hours ago in New York, jurors in the Adidas college basketball trial began their second day of deliberations. The panel of 8 women and 4 men is deciding whether 2 representatives from the athletic apparel giant and would-be agent conspired to commit wire fraud by paying the families of basketball recruits. In his instructions to the jury, Judge Lewis Kaplan said, quote, "A violation of an NCAA rule by itself is not a violation of a law." Lauren McCluskey, a sophomore member of the University of Utah track team, was shot and killed on campus Monday night. According to university police, the victim knew the 37-year-old suspect, a convicted sex offender. He was later found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And the former coach and co-director of Iowa's top traveling youth basketball program faces up to 180 years in prison after admitting to sexually exploiting and abusing hundreds of children. 42-year-old Greg Stephen, who was arrested in March, has admitted to filming players in the shower, tricking players into providing him sexually explicit videos, and touching players as they slept. Stephen acknowledged the existence of a hard drive containing photos and videos of more than 400 different boys, many of whom went on to play Division I basketball. Today in the B block, Basketball, a Love Story is a love letter to the game featuring almost every hooper who's made their mark on the hardwood. The unprecedented doc, spanning 20 hours and 10 parts, tells interconnected short stories. And here today we have the story of the battle for the 1978 scoring title, which came down to the final game of the season.
On the last day of the 1978 NBA regular season, 2 transplants from the ABA were in a historic battle for the league's scoring title. They were separated by 0.2 of 1 point. The footage of their games does not exist.
The rebound over to Gervin, the Iceman again. Hello, the Iceman does it all.
They didn't pay me to guard nobody. They paid guys to guard me.
I wasn't really cocky, but I knew how to pull off some spectacular plays. And when the time came, I knew how to give the crowd something to stand up for.
David Thompson. Oh, my goodness. David Thompson, play the role.
I didn't realize how close the scoring race was. I know I was behind. But really, there's only 14 points separating me and Gervin.
We played an early game in Cobo Arena.
David Thompson goes up to my hometown, Detroit, at the Cobo, where I played all my high school championship games at.
Larry Brown comes to me and asked me if I wanted to go for the scoring title.
He said, "Look, fellas, we've got the Division I. So, David's got the scoring title on him. Let's try to see if we can help him get it."
I said, "No, let's just play and we'll see what happens."
David did not hesitate on that
one. I got off to a pretty good start. Made 20 on my first 21 shots.
David Thompson
had 6 for 6 from the free throw line. The only shot I missed was a dunk. Had 32 points in the first quarter.
Thompson on the fly.
I mean, he was hitting everything.
I didn't realize I broke Wilt Chamberlain's record for points in a quarter. He had 31 points. I broke his record with 32. I was 53 points at halftime.
Get out of his way.
He ended up with 73.
Williams Sky jumping forward for the Denver Nuggets, scored 73 points.
A young star continued to make his mark on the court. He's Denver's David Thompson, who scored 73 points in today's game.
So we get on a plane and we're thinking, well, he's got this.
New Orleans, Superdome. I'm resting. Press called me at 3 o'clock. Ice, this is so-and-so with so-and-so. David Thompson just scored 73. You need 59 in order to regain your title. Man, you gotta be kidding me, man. My coach, Doug Moe, he said, Ice, we're gonna help you get 59. He knew what I needed.
He thought, hey, that little, probably set this whole thing up.
So he said, hey guys, David Thompson just stole, his word to use. He just stole the championship. Can we work together, see can Ice get 59? So all my guys was like, yeah. So we started the game. So I got the ball in my hand. We was excited.
Durbin goes to the hoop.
Boom, boom, boom. Missed my first 6 shots. Timeout.
I was feeling real good about myself. I go back to Denver. There are cameras out there interviewing me. I go back to my house knowing that Gervin needs 59 points to win the scoring title.
I said, man, it ain't happening. We ain't got to worry about it, man. Come on, guys, man. The guy saying, oh, man, come on, Ice, come on, man. And I was doing it because, hey, I needed 59. Come on, man. 59. 59. 59. I needed 59.
Durbin goes one-on-one. There it is. Iceman finally gets a shot.
And then, second quarter. So I got in the zone. Got set picks from me, man. And, I was just got 33 in the quarter.
He broke my record. I must be the shortest record ever. It took me like 18 years to break Wilt Chamberlain's record, and it took him like 5 hours to break mine.
You know what inspired me? Pete Maravich was on the team we was playing, and he was hurt. So he was on the sideline, rooting me on. What are you talking about? Pistol Pete saying, Ice, I kill him, Ice, against his own team. Come on, man. But I'm gonna tell you, it was an artist talking to another artist and say, do your thing.
So I'm driving to my house knowing that Gervin needs a lot of points. I said, well, I'll try to get this game on the radio. It was almost halftime of this game, and I found out that he had 53 points at halftime also. So I just turned the radio off.
Gervin. Oh, it's Gervin. Oh, it's Gervin.
Third quarter. Coach said, you got 59. I said, Coach, let me get a couple of more points just in case they miscalculated. And that's how I got to 63.
Basketball, A Love Story, our unprecedented 20-hour film that consists of more than 60 interconnected short stories, continues Tuesday, tonight. with episodes 5 and 6 starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. All episodes are also streaming live on the ESPN app. After PTI, SportsCenter at 6 p.m. Eastern with Sage and Kevin. They'll have World Series Game 1 predictions plus a breakdown of last night's Spurs-Lakers game. And Kirk Herbstreit on which one-loss team has the best chance of reaching the college football playoff. SportsCenter, 6 Eastern after PTI on the ESPN app. So, few moves downgrading events' importance faster than booking other events on the same day. Of course, for most sporting events other than, say, the Super Bowl, you'll find scheduling conflicts. Sometimes the NBA Finals happen at the same time as the Stanley Cup Final. But you know what never happens? The NBA dividing its own audience during the sport's pinnacle moment. Which brings me to the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup Final, which will happen on July 7th, a little more than 9 months from now in France. So quick refresher. The 2015 Women's World Cup Final between the U.S. and Japan drew 31 million viewers at its peak and remains the most watched soccer match in U.S. history. Since, FIFA has said repeatedly it is invested in continuing to grow the women's game, which makes the following decision all the more baffling and infuriating. FIFA has scheduled 2 competing matches, 2 finals of major tournaments on the exact day as the Women's World Cup Final. So instead of carving out just one day to ensure all eyes are on the best female footballers in the world, FIFA scheduled the finals of both the Gold Cup and the Copa America, both major tournaments in their own right, for July 7th. You might be wondering if this is standard practice. Nope. The 2015 Women's World Cup Final had its own date on the calendar. What's even more enraging about this scheduling is that now fans of both U.S. national teams, the men and the women, will have to choose between supporting the women at the World Cup in France or following the men's team in the Gold Cup here in the States. More than anything, the question to FIFA is just why? In previous years, these tournaments have been staggered to give each one its moment. It is literally the most basic courtesy FIFA can extend to the Women's World Cup. This is entry-level fairness, not equal money or sponsors or media attention, just one day every 4 years, every 1,460 days, to highlight the best of women's football. So make some calls, FIFA. Clear the calendar. The only soccer match on July 7th should be the Women's World Cup Final. That'll do it for Outside the Lines today. I'm Kate Fagan. NFL Live is next.